where you could see is flames. You see houses going up. It's spooky, man. It's spooky like a horror movie.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, I talked to a fireman once. This is one of the reasons it freaked me out. I had one of the well, I'm wearing an LA Fire Department show. Shout out.
Yeah.
Fire Department shirt.
It's a badass job.
Fucking tough people, man.
Yeah.
Those fucking people, they don't get nearly the credit that they deserve. So I was talking to this guy, and he was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind, and fire's going to start in the right place, and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean, and there's not a fuck we can do about it. I go, really? He goes, yeah, we just get lucky. He goes, we get lucky with the wind. He goes, but if the wind hits the wrong way, it's just going to burn straight through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we could do about it. Because these fires are so big, dude. When they're talking about like thousands of acres that are burning simultaneously with like 40-mile-an-hour winds. And the wind's just blowing embers through the air, and those embers are landing on roofs, and those houses are going up, and they're landing on bushes, and those bushes are going up, and everything's dry. And once it happens in a way where it's so spread out that there's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do.
You just have to evacuate, right?
No.
So, yeah, you heard that there. Joe Rogan talked about that months and months ago. I believe that was July 19th that episode aired on Joe Rogan's podcast. And now we have the wildfires raging in Los Angeles currently, which is just absolutely crazy. And I want to read this because the incompetence amongst the Democrat Party is it's just utterly dangerous. And obviously it's playing out right in front of our face currently. The incompetence puts people's lives at risk. So I want to read this because apparently LA's mayor, Karen Bass, cut the fire department funding by almost $18 million and focused on homeless spending months before the wildfires turned the city into a hellscape. Crazy, right? Crazy. Instead of funding the firefighters who, it's quite interesting because they're apparently having some issues with having enough firefighters, and we'll get to that in just a second. But instead of funding the firefighters in a place where you're going to need them, I mean, we've seen these wildfires pop up time and time again in California. Instead of funding them, you send the money to the pockets of these nonprofits who will never fix homelessness. Ever. They won't ever do it. And I could prove that because you guys remember when the president or the dictator of China randomly, or I won't say randomly, but came to California and how all of the homeless people disappeared all of a sudden. So that tells me that they can fix the issue. They can fix the problem, but they don't want to because it's not in their best interest, in my humble opinion. When you're paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, you create a conflict of interest. So like I said before, until you take the money out of fixing homelessness in terms of paying people to do it, it will never be fixed. It will never be fixed. But back to the firefighters, I want to play this clip because it is just utter incompetence. Check it out.
113 LA City firefighters have been suspended without pay for defying the city's vaccine mandate. In November, firefighters who had not submitted their vaccination status or requested an exemption were informed they would face suspension and termination. The policy requires city employees to be vaccinated by December 18th. The fire department says firefighters who continue to resist the mandate will be entered into the process of termination.
So you fired firefighters because they didn't want to get the splooge. Right. Very smart. Very intelligent folks, man. Very intelligent folks. So this is their budget. The city of LA. I see the funding for police. That's smart. But look what number 2 is. Library? Why in the world is a library funded that much? Huh? I'm just confused. City attorney? Why in the world does the city attorney need that much? I'm just curious. Some of this money could have gone here where you took away $17.6 million. Sanitation? They got rid of sanitation. Goodness gracious. No wonder why there's poop everywhere. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. Cannabis regulation. They'll give money, they'll raise the budget for that, but decrease the budget for firefighters. Raise the budget for cannabis regulation. Raise the budget for the library. Now, these are increases in budget. This isn't like the total budget. This is how much they increased the budget for these particular items. They increased the budget $14.6 million for the library, but decreased it $18 million for firefighters. Telling you, man, utter incompetence. Now, of course, once again, Trump was right. He had been talking about this stuff quite a while ago, and he's been talking about it quite a bit. Here are a few clips where Trump was talking about it. This one is more recent, I believe. This clip here. No, actually, this is from a while ago, if I remember right. Yeah, this is from 4 months ago. This clip that you're about to check out. Check it out.
And you have so much water, and all those fields that are right now barren, the farmers would have all the water they needed. And you could revert water up into the hills where you have all the dead forests, where the forests are so brittle. Because no place is like California. I go to Austria. The head of Austria tells me, we have trees that are much more flammable than what you have in California. We never have forest fires because they maintain their forests. And you have all that water that could be used as water, what they call water flow, where where the land would be damp. And you'd stop many of these horrible fires that are costing billions and billions of dollars by the federal government, etc. So one thing I'm going to do for California, vote for me, California. I'm going to give you safety. I'm going to give you a great border. And I'm going to give you more water than almost anybody has. And the farmers up north are going to be able to use 100% of their land, not 1% of their land.
I mean, Trump was right. Trump was 100% correct. And that wasn't the only time. Check out this clip.
It's cleaned out and protected. You got to take care of the floors, the floors of the forests, very important. You look at other countries where they do it differently, and it's a whole different story. I was with the president of Finland, and he said, we have a much different, we're a forest nation. He called it a forest nation. And they spend a lot of time on raking and cleaning and doing things, and they don't have any problem. And when it is, it's a very small problem. So I know everybody's looking at that, to that end, and it's going to work.
Yeah, so Trump is basically saying, hey, get rid of this dry brush that is sitting along the floor of this area that is, just straight up tinder to this fire. Get rid of that, and you'll cut down on these fires. You'll cut down on it drastically. Take the water that's up north and allow it to flow down here. Don't divert it to the ocean. Divert it down here so that there's more water down here. Why are you diverting it to the ocean up there to save some fishes? Forget them fishes. Divert this water back down here so that there's more water available. Fill up those reservoirs that you guys let run empty so that the fire hydrants don't continuously run out of water. It's just devastation, man. Look at this. Check out this video clip of this guy driving through the area.
In these hills, it spreads so quickly. And the second is, you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff. This isn't high science here. And it's all about leadership and management that we're seeing a failure of. And all of these residents are paying the ultimate price for that.
That was going to be my next question, is why isn't there water in the fire hydrants? That doesn't make any sense.
You're right. It's a good question. And I think you should start asking, why don't you call the mayor who's out of the country and ask her and get an answer from her?
Well, they say she's on her way back, and that would be a great question to ask her tomorrow if she's at this briefing at 8 o'clock in the morning, because I think there's a lot of people that are outraged by that fact tonight when they look at scenes like this, at businesses that people...
I mean, just absolutely burning to the ground. And as you heard there, their mayor was out of town in a completely different country. Check out the clip from when she finally came back to America and was faced with some questions. Check it out.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home? Madam Mayor, let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
No. They're gonna come. Ma'am, hold on 1 second.
Madam Mayor, just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
Can you take this down? Gotcha.
David, as you say, she wasn't very keen to answer any of your questions there. And fire chiefs are also admitting that they just don't have enough personnel to take out the fires.
Yeah, they're fighting all sorts of challenges. They're talking about a water shortage. There are reports of fire hydrant failures. They've been unable to use firefighting aircraft for much of the day due to the smoke that is billowing ominously from the hills where the wildfires are raging. And I suppose despite that political storm, this is, of course, at its heart, a human story, because we've now 80,000 people evacuated. Tens of thousands of others are on standby to be evacuated. 2 lives have been lost in the Eaton fire, which is what's causing the consequence behind us. The city's iconic landscape almost shrouded completely by the smoke. And they're really just taking it one step at a time, hoping at some stage the wind's going to change direction or to die down, and that they're going to be able to get this fire under control.
What a shame, right? What a shame. That is the Democrat mayor, Karen Bass of LA. That's what she had to say. That's what she had to say. And of course, you know, mainstream media has been trying to convince us that Democrats would be best running the country. I think not. As a matter of fact, it goes even deeper in LA. It really does. It really does. The whole DEI situation. I'm going to play this clip of the police chief, or what the police chief has done, or not police chief, fire chief, excuse me, goodness gracious, I'm just, check it out.
Los Angeles Fire Department is launching its first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. It is dedicated to ensuring a fair and equal workplace environment.
Eyewitness News reporter Christian Cordero is live in North Hollywood with more on what it entails and why it's necessary. Christian?
Ellen, Colleen, the discrepancies are stark, even just on paper. The LAFD this year hired its first ever female chief, and it says so far this year, 8% of its applicants have been women. That might sound like a small number, but it's actually twice the percentage of female firefighters currently in the department. Every day, the LAFD is called upon to respond to crises, and today it is taking a step to resolve one of its own. The department's first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau will launch in January, 1 year since its first ever female fire chief, Kristen Crowley, was appointed.
So by creating this new bureau, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau, now we actually have the staff to do the work when it comes to doing a deep dive in regard to how we do business, how we take care of one another in the fire stations and in our work environment.
The plan is to do so by adding training and enforcing accountability. Calls for accountability have echoed for years. In 2021, women's advocacy groups, including one representing female firefighters, pushed for changes at the highest level, saying a system within the department exposes them to abuse, bullying, and a culture of intimidation and retaliation.
So you wanted to focus more on DEI than just hiring good people for the job, regardless of who it is. Quite interesting. I wonder how that one's played out. You know, what a shame, man. What just utter fucking idiots. Okay, I just gotta say it. Just flat out. Just idiots. Trump told you to not do this mess a long time ago. You got the governor, who's completely incompetent, who cared more about fish than he did about diverting the water to Southern California from up north. You got a mayor who was in a completely different country, in Africa, visiting while wildfires are raging. You got the fire chief more concerned with DEI than actually fighting fires itself. I mean, this is just ridiculous. Ridiculous. And not a single Republican can be blamed for this.
I am super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
They feel included, they feel valued, and they feel part of a cohesive team.
The chief also checks another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
That just kind of opens the door of people that thought, wow, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me.
People who said, wow, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me. I wonder, this stuff is just absolutely ridiculous. You can't make this up. Why would anybody feel like something isn't an opportunity for them? Because I feel like I can do anything. I don't care who I'm competing against. Whether you're white, black, blue, purple, tall, short, fat, skinny, gay, straight. Don't matter to me. I can compete with anybody. Okay? That's my mentality. So why would anybody on your side of the political aisle feel like, maybe this, I just can't do that, Maybe it's because that's what you've been telling them. Oh, well, the world's going to hold you back. If you're black, you can't compete. If you're gay, no, you can't do that. When it's not the truth. People don't need to see somebody that's a part of some community in order to, oh yeah, I can do that too. Like what? Like, this is just so stupid, man. Just so, oh my goodness. You fire people who don't want to get the splooge put in their arm, and you focus on hiring based off of DEI. Great job. Congratulations. You played yourself. Now, prayers go out to all of the families affected by this. I don't want to miss that. Obviously, there are families being affected by this entire situation. I've just been talking about the the political side of things, but yeah, man, my heart goes out to those families because I couldn't imagine having to leave your home because it's about to be burned to the ground and you won't be able to return, obviously, because of that fact. That has to be, especially for children, very traumatic, very traumatic. Just being uprooted randomly, with no warning at all. I mean, just being uprooted, period, right, can be a little traumatic, but just no warning at all, just having to just up and leave, gone. Not going to return. Nope, there's nothing to return to. It's just ashes, right? And maybe a couple of pieces here or there that managed to make it through, but nothing worthwhile, right, going back to. But man, and you know, one of the other stories that has come out of this entire situation is that one of the insurance companies, big insurance companies, in the area recently cut people's insurance policy. Yeah, they saw the writing on the wall. They knew this fire was coming, and they got rid of people's insurance policies. They said, we are no longer going to insure these homes. So yeah, there are some folks who lost their home with no insurance. None. But that's the world that Gavin Newsom wanted, right? It's all for the climate and saving the fishes. What an idiot. What an idiot. Peace and love. I'm out.